He traveled across this great big country, Coach Woodard. He made it to California, Coach Woodard. He's in Sonoma County. Don't drink up all that wine. He's Coach Woodard.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. Do you have a song about Scotland?
Scotland. No, I immediately thought of Danny Boy talking about the difference between Scottish accents and Irish accents.
Oh,
and he goes, so this is a Scottish accent. And then he goes, and here's an Irish accent. Diddly dee, potatoes. And that was his impression of Irish accent.
Welcome to the Backpack Show, where Chris sings and does accents. But they all sound like Boston accents.
Whatever.
Somehow. Irregardless. We're going to talk about business success.
Who do we have on the show today? I mean, we have 506 people backstage, so that's a little weird.
You wouldn't believe me if I told you, but I'm going to tell you anyway. So fashion entrepreneur and educator Leekei Tang. She's based in Paris. We're going to talk with her about how she helps entrepreneurs to grow their business while contributing to a sustainable and more inclusive society. And we're going to talk to Melanie Curtis, who was doing something totally else and then decided she wanted to be a professional skydiver. And so she became it. So now she's a skydiver, life coach, author. She's got a brand new book out called How to Fly. And we're going to talk about that. But how cool is that? It's like one day you're like in finance and the next day you're a pro skydiver.
I love that it's a mix of fashion and skydiving today. I mean,
you want to look good when you skydive.
Maybe there's a crossover.
She's skydived in a bikini before. Mel has. So there is like a fashion element in certain jumps.
Well, I'm going to earn a yellow card before the credits.
You should.
Hi, everyone. Tim Kitzrow from NBA Jam and NFL Blitz, welcoming you to The Backpack Show. Your hosts, Chris Brogan, Kerry Gorgone, Boom Shakalaka.
Backpack Show.
I wouldn't wear a bikini like doing nothing, know what I mean? Just normally. So,
walking around on the ground.
It sure wouldn't jump. I mean, it's not like she does it regularly. I just mean like certain jumps, they do stuff.
Look, I had a late start to my day. I woke up pretty late and I like read out here and talk about the energy you got to come up with for fashion in Paris and a skydiver. And I just realized I left my AC on.
Well, go turn it off.
I'll go turn it off. Hey,
there it is.
Jets taking off to do skydiving.
The kettle's on. So before we get started with our guests, I want to tell you that we are sponsored by Castos.com. If you don't want to look at our faces, you'd rather listen to an audio podcast, or you want to have an audio podcast of your own, Castos.com hosts your audio files and syndicates them to all the places. They make it stupid easy. So check them out. If you want to make a video show, get your own fashion entrepreneur and your own skydiver, but you can do everything else we do by going to cbrogan.me/StreamYard.
Whack.
Super crazy. You stop making it duck noises. That duck does not make that sound. Not like that. So let's talk to someone. Who's coming first?
Oh, that's a great question. I want to talk to Leekei Tang because I have a lot of fashion questions. So
yes, I can see why.
Yeah. You're out there in Paris telling the fashion. By the way, don't think I didn't get the joke.
I know you got it.
Rolling right over. But look at this. This is my Cuban style bluish shirt. What do you think? Is this good or not good?
I'm not giving fashion advice. I'm in fashion business, so I'm not a fashion. I mean, I know what good fashion looks like, but it's up to you, really.
So, Leekei, is this it? I'm just kidding.
So, I was reading your blog, and one of the things I noticed is that you're also helping people understand the business around the industry as well. And so, I want to know what made you start to feel comfortable talking about that. And how do you feel like when you're sharing with people how to make their business better, how do you feel confident giving that advice?
What made me start doing it is that I am a fashion business founder, owner, entrepreneur myself, and actually before I started this, I started getting into this industry. I was a consultant and working in an investment bank, so I have the whole background in management and finance, and actually one of the things when I was growing my business, one of the things I was doing was to help other founders, entrepreneurs in incubation program, because it was a way for me to be less stressed about my own stress. It was a way for me to outsource my, or no, to have another outlet for me to project the stress, getting interested in others people, businesses. And when I sold my business a couple of years ago, what happened is that someone said, "Oh, we're starting this program and we're looking for fashion business coaches, and do you want to do that?" And I thought, yeah, I really enjoyed my work, my role as a coach for other business founders. Why not do that? And that's how the whole thing started, very organically. And so I'm not a coach because I've never trained as a coach, but I enjoy helping people. I enjoy, seeing them make progress. So I don't know if I'm a good coach or not, but I have some experience. I like people, and yeah.
Chris still doesn't know, right? And you still coach.
Jeez, I coach, but I don't know anything. When you say that you came through this through investment banking, though, I mean, that's a very different lens, right? I mean, that's an important lens that I'm sure a lot of fashionista businesses don't really start with. They start with, I've got a flair for cutting things, or boy, do I know color. And you're saying, yeah, but like you need to source things. You need to have a process. You need to not pollute the planet, because part of your thing is mindfulness. When you bring so much of that to get to bear, how do people respond to that? Because as you say, you weren't setting up shows for the runway per se, but you've got lots of advice for those sorts of people around the business. How do you have those conversations, and how open are people in those industries to talk with you about that?
Well, if they want to get help, they need to be open to start with. And for me, a fashion business and a sustainable business, any kind of business is a business after all. So you have to learn the fundamentals and to get a very good understanding of the fundamentals of business. And then if you bring the sustainability issue or the ethical issue or the conscious issue, all these kind of issues is about it's about creating a change in society or in the world or in the future or in the industry. And the approach, there are many different approaches, and there's no one size fits all kind of approach. And but everybody who's involved in this kind of approach wants to see things done differently. And so I start asking questions, what actually one of the funny thing I like to do is like, what is the ideal world you want your children to live in? And we start from there, so do you think that your business is reflecting what the vision of the world you want to see? And what you need to change in your current business to take you to that vision. And then I add a little bit of my experience in finance, in management, and in sales, and all that. And yeah, it starts from that.
I just want to put a little highlighter. I'll let Kerry talk, I promise. I want to put a little highlighter on what you just said, though. Does your business reflect the vision of the world you want to see? That's a question people don't ask a lot. And in some circles, you hear that a bunch. In other circles, no one hears it. So I just wonder how people react when they hear that question. And I'm curious to know what else. Where do you go from there?
Actually, they're very surprised because there's no kind of question they expect to hear from a business coach. A business coach will be focused, okay, we need to enter that market, we need to grow that way. And so, yeah, they're very surprised, and they feel that is something important happening, and there's a chance for them to really be themselves, and they feel heard. They feel finally heard, understand, because I believe that a lot of people have created business because they want to be in charge of their own future and the future of their communities. But it's not that part of the business of companies that we put forward. So people sometimes forget about it, and they feel really hurt when I ask them this kind of question. Another question I ask them, and which is pretty much linked to your show, is, can you tell me about your definition of success. And that is fascinating. When you ask them, what's your definition of success? And in the fashion world, I mean, in business world, it's like, oh, how much sales I've done, or how much shops I've opened, or oh, I'm at the cover of this magazine, or I am selling in, I know if Neiman Marcus is still around, but these big department stores, and so that is the industry standard of success. But then I go and ask them a deeper question: is what is real success means to you, and how would you define success in your business? And that's get them excited and feel seen and heard, and yeah.
I wonder if it's difficult, and you can tell me, to get people to change their focus from improving their world to improving the world. Because there's a difference, right? Everybody wants to make things just so. A lot of times that's why entrepreneurs are entrepreneurs. They want to run their business the way they want to run their business. But to take their focus from themselves and their existence to society as a whole, like how does that transition work? Or do you just attract the kind of clients who do want to make something happen for the world at large, kind of?
I'm not trying to convince people. So yeah, I think I kind of attract those kind of people. But then sometimes when you start talking to someone, you realize that there's something that is there, but they don't feel that they're allowed to express that, that willingness, that they want to go into that direction. And everything has a ripple effect. So when you start something, it's when you do something for your world, it will ripple to the ripple outside of the world, the frontier of your work. So it's when you start create some kind of a change in your world, in your community, eventually it will ripple outside of that. Is that?
Yes. So I was thinking, so how do you know somebody is or isn't the right person to work with you? Like, how do you sort of gently redirect people who maybe aren't ready to make the kinds of changes you're talking about?
Oh, how do I know? One thing I believe that there things needs to be said, and I ask very frankly, are you doing it because you really believe in it? Is it really your vision, or you do want to do that because you see it as a marketing opportunity? Because now it is a marketing opportunity, and so I'm very direct, and if not, if you're not this kind of person who really wants to create change with your business, you won't be able to succeed. That's it, because you have to be very you have to be crystal clear about what you want to create and how it is translated in the operations of your own business, and how you want to show up to the show up to the world and communicate to the rest of the world. So it's not something you can fake.
It's a rare opportunity to talk to someone who comes in from the world of investment banking, because one of the notes that I'd sent to Kerry backstage is, one thing I think of when I think of investment banking people, they don't play. Like it's, I always joke in business that as an entrepreneur, I'm like a mess maker. I'm there to destroy things and tear things open and try new paths that don't exist. But investment bankers are looking for formulas, and they're looking for setup, and they're looking for, I need a multiple. If I'm going to give you this, I need this back. But what I saw through your podcast is, you're going after people who exchange cork for leather. You're going after people who turn plastic bags into clothes. And these are not the purview of, your previous roles. So I'm curious to know how you find these people for your podcast, and how much of it is like you've turned on a light, so now people know where to come for this kind of talk, or how much is Leekei going out and finding all the people?
It's really me finding those people. I'm actually quite selective about the people I want to have on my podcast. And there are people that say, oh, can I be on your podcast? But I say, I'm always looking for the very edgy people. And because I really believe that that the new thing or the real change will come from people that are not doing the mainstream thing. And so I'm really interested in people that are trying to play with the boundaries of different disciplines. Like, I recently talked to an Olympian last week, and I just find it fascinating, because I was trying to understand how the rules or the mindset of sports can apply to business. I just find it fascinating. And this is the whole, this is what I really love. It's drawing insight from different from another industry, or kind of work environment, and see how it could be applied to, and it's how you create new things and how you
like
create
an intersection. Yeah.
Intersection. Yes, totally. Yeah. And so, and why I transitioned, but you didn't ask me that, but I want to tell
but you answer it.
no, but how did I transition from investment banking to fashion? Is that I wanted to please my parents, especially my mother, because being an investment banker was safe. It's a very safe job, and but the truth is, I didn't like it. I really, really, really didn't like it, and so I resigned a couple of times, 3 times from a banking job, which is unheard of. Because it's really the kind of career choice that you will stay for the rest of your life, and I just couldn't do it. I tried 3 different banks, but I just couldn't. And so I wanted to, at one stage I thought, okay, now I want to go back to university and learn and study something that will help me for the rest of my life. I have all these grand ideas and vision, and so it was early 2000, and I thought, okay, environment and sustainable development sounds fun. Yeah, so I started getting interested in these topics, and I went to do a master in environment and sustainable development, which was fantastic, really, because it was mind-blowing, because at that time no one was really talking about this, and so nobody understood what I was doing, and I didn't really understand what I was doing, but it just sounded something, the right thing to do. And the oldest people I met through this masters are fantastic people I would never had a chance to meet if I didn't do that. And so it all started from there. Is okay. I didn't like my job. I wanted to find something new and interesting. And when I graduated from my job, and I thought, okay, what can I do? I can preach, corporate social responsibility. That was the thing. That was the thing that was the remotely close to what I could do. I have a background in business, and I just have these fresh ideas. And but at that time, no one wanted to hear from me, especially because those are the things that are very scary. And so
and they sound expensive when you tell businesses you have to do things differently.
No, it sounded expensive, but I was still young and naive at the time, so
you made it work.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. You have to tell people like things that they don't necessarily want to hear, but that's important for them to achieve their goals. Coach says most people looking to be coached want to be heard and figure out their vision for themselves and their business. So basically, you say, "Interesting, $150, please." No, just kidding.
No, I'm telling you, you need to change the way you're working, because I was very naive, and I say, okay, let's start with the big companies. So I call up the big companies. They say, oh, well, that's very refreshing. Oh, we have a financial report. If you can help us draft something, but it's but it's not what I do. It's not change. It doesn't change. It's just communication. That is not real change. And little by little, I understood that if I really want to create change with the business, I have to be my own business owner, and yeah, so create my own business, and why fashion? I mean, that's a very long story. It just happened. And
It just happened.
It just happened. So
Just
it's a very long story, but it just happened, and it's very international, from both sides, from the supply side and also from the sales side. So it's very globalized, very global business. So
which gives you a big view of the whole side of it.
Yeah.
Leekeis Tang, we have 3,006 other questions, but we ran out of time. So we have to put you in hold.
But don't go away.
Go backstage, but don't go away, because we're going to ask you a couple panel questions a little bit later. But don't go anywhere. Thank you so much. That was...
So Elizabeth says, we can't live our lives pleasing our parents. And Leekei has a lot of courage to break culture. That's change in itself.
Well, come on. Everybody knows that culture has nothing to, about parent pleasing in it. Oh my gosh.
I'm Irish Catholic, and there's plenty of parent pleasing in my background.
I think it's everybody's culture.
Yep.
Hey, want your own domain? You can get your .online domain, cbrogan.me/online. Use the code Chris, all caps. You can get a .online domain for $1 for the first year.
Why is it all caps? I say it every time.
I don't
know. Do they give another Chris, like your lowercase Chris? That's your
try it. I don't know. Try it. Hey, want to try a different search engine and stick it to the man? Go to presearch.com. I looked up research to look up Leekei's information, and it worked really great. Research.com. Give it a try after this. You will be surprised. Hey, I love saying hey. We're sponsored by my pal Mitch Jackson, who owns evidently both streaminglawyer.com and streaming.lawyer. Talk about unique domains. So he told me yesterday, he goes, it'd be better if you gave out streaming.lawyer. And I said, oh. And then I went to it, and it's the same website. Yes. So go to streaming.lawyer. It's at least 18% better than streaminglawyer.com.
But does he have an online domain?
Mitch has all the domains. Mitch, he doesn't have an online yet, but he should. Mitch is, I'll tell you this about Mitch. He's the #1 leading trial attorney in California. He is also absolutely at the bleeding edge of all technology. Like, he was a Google Glass guy. He was a drone guy. He was a drone wearing.
Hey, how'd that Google Glass thing work out for him?
You got to fall off a bunch of cliffs. You got to fall off a bunch of cliffs. So go to streaming.lawyer. He's one of our sponsors. And listen, just like falling off cliffs, now we can talk about falling out of planes.
Coach Woodard says, my kids didn't get the pleasing parents gene. You think so, but just wait.
I'm lucky.
Yeah.
All right. Let's grab our own Melanie Curtis. Hello.
Yeah, team.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm awesome. I'm stoked to be here.
Yes. So this is Kerry's fault you're on. She said, you know what? I want to find someone who falls out of planes a lot. And
so actually we met through Dory Clark, who we're going to have on the show I think in September. Right. She's written ton of amazing books and everything. I went to dinner at Dory's house, and she's like, I will just get all these amazing, brilliant women here and then also invite Kerry. So I got to go, and I met Mel there and a bunch of other people. And I was like, oh my God, I want to.
Yeah, that was an amazing dinner. God, that was a while ago.
I want to hear more. Yeah, that was like pre-pandemic, obviously.
Pre-COVID.
So. Yeah, and since then I've been like, I need to get her on the show, and now finally you caved. So very excited.
I love the conspiring to make this happen. Yeah. Well, what should we start with? I don't even know where to start.
So let's see. You're in finance, and then you think, what I'd really like to do is jump out of planes for a living.
I was actually listening to Leekei. It was so cool that there were a lot of touch points in her story that are actually parallel with mine, which is interesting because I think that's so fascinating how we can see ourselves in each other's stories. And that's like such a huge part of why I write, why I'm a public person at all, like why I put myself out there, things like that, is that I'm a believer in this notion of courageous self-expression as avenue to contribution to others, the world, and ourselves. So like that's a big underpinning of what I do. But the investment banking thing, yeah, that was the same sort of thing where I went the traditional path. I went to college, Middlebury College, did really well, and was searching for a creative career. I actually applied to a number of different marketing jobs in New York City, and they just paid so poorly. I didn't know how I would be able to survive in New York City with that type of salary. And weirdly enough, my boyfriend at the time, his sister worked at this new branch of DLJ. So I interviewed, and I really liked the bosses that I was going to be working with. And so that was why I took that job. And I'm ultimately so grateful that I have that corporate experience, because it's underpinned how I've been able to evolve as an entrepreneur, but also it totally paid for me to be able to compete at the high levels in skydiving when I was first starting out in the sport.
But you always knew you were going to be huge.
Oh my God. Kerry's talking about a story in my Audible book where I'm young and drunk and telling the basically best skydiver in history that I'm going to be like him, that I'm going to be the best. And oh my God, I was young and very ambitious, and also in the light of day, quite shy and insecure.
And you had to get to work on that confidence problem.
Yes. Yes, I did.
So what did the forgetful skydiver say just after he jumped out of the plane?
Sorry?
What did the forgetful skydiver say just after he jumped out of the plane? Oh, shoot.
Oh, shit.
Oh, boy. Christopher.
Bad jokes are my favorite.
Well, that's the only kind he's got. You're in luck.
Oh, yeah.
So
Bad
Leslie, who I went to school with in grade school and has been friends ever since, she's a jump out of the plane kind of person. She's afflicted with the same mental illness that you have.
I
So
like her. Perfect.
maybe not 11,000 times, but that's good. What's professional skydiving, by the way? Help me out with that, because in my head, you know what I think is I've landed. That's the profession. Like what am I missing in the sport?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I was exposed to skydiving at a really young age. My dad is a pilot, and so I grew up around aviation my whole life. My first flight was when I was 3 months old, and when I was, I think, around 8 or 10 or something like that, my dad and his best friend basically opened a skydiving center at our house. So we live on a dead end road. There's a grass strip behind my house. My dad still flies out of there today. I literally just jumped at my house the other day out of my dad's plane as like this really beautiful completing of a story. It was wonderful. But that's how I was exposed to skydiving and to this even being a possibility to do as something for fun, much less something for a career. But for me, it was, people say this a lot. I could never jump out of a perfectly good airplane. Right? You hear that all the time. I contest that the thing that's missing off the end of that sentence is like, and live. Like there's this fear, genuine, understandable fear of death around jumping out of an airplane. And it speaks to the feeling of fear that we have when we're facing something that we feel like we're not going to survive. And the interesting thing is that shows up in so many different areas of life. I felt nervous in the green room before coming on this show because you're being seen, you're being heard. It's so much the same feeling. So relative to my first jump, go up, and I could tell that story, but when I jumped out of the airplane for the first time and I landed and I was alive and I didn't even have conscious awareness to this at this point in my life, because I was 18 years old. Didn't say that. I was 18. So as an 18-year-old person, I land, I'm not dead. And forever, my psyche was really impacted by that. So it's not the super cliche life coach, you can do anything, right? Because that's so annoying. #life coach kind of bothers me, but I like to speak to it because it's not about that you can do anything. It's that when fear tries to stop you and get in your way, you have to at least question whether it's accurate or not. I can't jump out of a perfectly good airplane. I know that's not true because I've done it. You know what I mean? So that's a way to challenge ourselves anytime our brain or limiting thoughts start to get in our way about what we want to do.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure I can't punch a great white shark in the face. I'm
Fair.
Pretty sure. And I don't want to test that one. I don't want to go to the Great Barrier Reef, get in the cage and be like, here we go, Sharky. Like, I know I don't want to do that.
Yep.
I want to switch. I didn't have a really follow up to that, but I was looking at your.
You just wanted to say that.
I just wanted to say that. This poor lady in the front row. I thought you were wearing a hula skirt. I thought you had like a grass hula skirt. So I'll
I
just
would
say
wear
that
that.
right off the
That's
bat.
another one you didn't have a question about. You just felt like you
I
had
just
to
wanted
say
to
it.
point that out too.
Okay.
I would wear that for sure.
But listen, so I want to say something that sounds combative, but it isn't. But there's such a cliche farm around, brave and do it and just jump out of planes, and you've done it. You must, after that many jumps, have found systems. You must have found things people can really take with them, as tangible as a chute.
Yeah.
Are you asking for a framework, Christopher?
Not for the backpack, I'm not, but a little ahead of it, I wouldn't mind hearing a couple of thoughts like that.
Yeah, the cliche of being brave is, again, kind of annoying if you're not connecting to it. You know what I mean? It's all about, I think, understanding that we as humans all feel that kind of anxiety when we're facing something that we either haven't done, that we care about, that we don't know how to do. There's lots of, it's not just jumping out of an airplane or whatever, but there's tons of this in the realm of competition. I'm no longer afraid of jumping out of an airplane, but now I really care about doing well for my teammates. I really care about remembering the sequence in competition and doing my best in those 35 seconds. It's in the realm of relationships. I really care about being seen and heard and known. But how do I do that? Oh, I have to actually be out in my relationships as the person that I am. I care about being an entrepreneur, building a business, or being a creative person or an artist in the world in some way. That requires something, and so it calls us to looking at what it is for each of us. You know what I mean? So I could care less if people go skydiving. I think it has a profound power to potentially help people to get out of their own way, but it's certainly not the only way to do that, nor would I ever say it is.
My good friend who passed away in October 2019 was really afraid of heights and went skydiving to overcome it.
Cool.
Yeah, she was like 0 to 100.
Oh yeah,
to get over
man.
it. There was no
And people
step ladder by the window or anything.
It's a thing. It's a thing, but like it could be anything. Again, that's the thing. That's why I call people to go, what is it for you? I ask that, and it's not from a cliche perspective. I really invite people to think about that question.
I'm a little like Cody. I just, I think of it every night. I was on a wobbly flight back from Vegas to Boston, and I'm not a nervous flyer. Like, I'm like, whatever, if this crashes, it'll be a good story.
I got seated next to someone who said she was bringing a whole bunch of raw meat back from Africa.
Well, there you go.
She was a apart from that, strange person.
Nice.
And I think we were probably like getting close to Iceland, and I thought I might jump. Given the opportunity, if switching seats is not an option.
And in my case, it was a red-eye flight, and this nervous flyer just kept wobbling and shaking and moving. And I was like, if you stopped, I could actually maybe rest. And I thought maybe I could help him out of the plane. In this process, you've written a book, you've books, and you've done all this stuff. You've really kind of put a business around it. It's kind of a weird business. Like, I can't imagine you on the swing set at age, well, maybe you were, because in 3 months you were in a stupid airplane. But I was going to say, I can't imagine you on the swing set saying, I'm pretty sure I could sustain my life out of flying out of planes. How did that come about? Like, how do you make it into a business? And what were some of the stumbles you had on ground as you were waiting to get back up?
Well, I didn't necessarily think that this would be my life. I think there's so much juice and goodness in the unknown, in the parts that we can't predict. Now, when I left investment banking and I went into skydiving professionally, I ran a drop zone in Southern California, and that's where my sort of skydiving, I don't know, just notoriety or where people started to know me in the sport, because I was competing and all this. My entrepreneurial life didn't really begin until I left that place and decided to begin taking opportunities to travel around the world, coaching as a professional skydiver, getting invited to events. At the same time, though, I had this moment of an epiphany, but not even like a big one. It was just like an aha moment where I was walking across the drop zone one day, and I remember this vividly. I was walking across the gravel driveway, and my intuition just was like, hey. like something really small, no Mack truck moment. And it basically was like, I knew that if professional skydiving in this form was all that I did, I knew I wouldn't be happy. And I had already at that point in my life just started to touch the realm of personal development and personal healing and that type of lane. And so long story short, I found life coaching. And so my entrepreneurial path began when my skydiving career was, I'm traveling the world, doing all these things all over, meeting a million people, while I'm on the other side, also building and bootstrapping my life coaching business at the same time, with the goal of making that my sole income stream. Now I got there and I did that. And I can't let any interview about my book or just my public presence or myself go without saying that there is serious breakdown and necessity to look into the darkest corners of our own hearts and psyches in order to really level up in the ways that we want to. Like, those parts are so critical. I work with a lot of startup founders as a life coach now. I work with a lot of type A men and women looking to really level up, whatever that might mean. And the interesting part about that is that always inevitably ends up looking into those emotional places we don't want to look into. And so that, if we talk about being brave, jumping out of an airplane, I really contest that one of the bravest things we can do is to be willing to get professionals that will help us do that deep work. That is the only way I've been able to contribute to the world in elevated forms now. Like, you've been flashing the websites and stuff like Highlight Skydiving, Women's Skydiving Network. Those are all basically now using skydiving as a vehicle to champion equality, to talk about inclusion, to talk about equity and diversity and what those buzzwords mean. But there's no way I could have accessed that conversation or been a leader as a voice about this without doing my own deep work to clear the stuff that was in my way.
So your book is an audio book now. It's available on audible.com. And you can hear, there's so much to it for me for hearing you deliver your material. I've said it over and over again. How fun was that to read your own book? Or were you like, I hate this so much?
It was actually so much. You'll hear it at the end. I talk about this at the very end about the Audible book, but it's so much the masochism of writing the stuff in the first place is bigger. Like, the actual initial writing is harder than the audible performing, quote unquote. But the funniest thing I thought about that was I had to read stuff that I wrote in like 2010 or in 2012 as if I had just written it.
And were you like, oh my God.
There are some cringeworthy moments for me. But I love that as people listen to the Audible book, they really will get the experience of my evolution as a skydiver, as a professional skydiver, as a person, and like, that's a writer, and as a person. I'm very proud of it.
Yeah, don't skip the awkward phase. Listen right through.
You can't skip the awkward phase. Oh my God.
When I was looking at your site for your team and the Highlight Skydiving, one of the things I noticed is that there's a variety of ages, there's a variety of body types, there are a variety of people getting into that, and I really enjoyed seeing that. One question I have is, how do you put together that team? How do you assemble the people you get?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's difficult because skydiving, you need a certain level of skill. You need a pro rating. You need a professional level of skill to be on a demonstration jump team. So yeah, Highlight, we care very much about being inclusive in all the ways that we can and championing and inspiring women in the sport to grow in the skills such that we can invite new members over time to be a part of that. But what Highlight does, and it in short, is we do demonstration jumps. We're supported by the foundation, the Women's Skydiving Network Foundation. And we partner with organizations that are elevating women and talking about things like equality, really championing equality, equal pay, and equity and inclusion in all forms.
Cool. Very cool. Leslie had a question. Any particular favorite place that you've been skydiving?
Oh, gosh, that's a great question. It's difficult to really choose because I hate to totally choose, but if I had to, it would be jumping over the Great Pyramids in Egypt. That was absolutely completely phenomenal. I had over 10,000 jumps at the time when I did that jump, and it still blew my mind that we could be in such a place, like flying, literally flying right next to the middle pyramid. I just can't, it just blows my mind so much. And the coolest thing about that is the only reason I was able to do that is because I had a skill set that I worked over time to earn. You know what I mean? And so that's sort of in the realm of life coaching as well, is that like, we can earn a skill set in the realm of skydiving. We can earn a skill set in the realm of conversation. We can earn a skill set in the realm of writing. We can earn a skill set in the realm of doing these kinds of interviews. We can, so that like all of this is accessible to us. We just have to sort of figure out ways to start and ways to keep going, and mentors to help us along the way.
Well, I'm here for it for sure. So we're getting near the end of the show. We got to grab in Leekei Tang, but wow. So Leekei, one of the things I was thinking when we were talking to Melanie is that you both oddly, like we don't mix the shows together on purpose ever. We just randomly pick our two guests or whatever. But you both came from banking. Is the real lesson in here that banking's awful and boring?
Yeah.
And it's so bad you'll do anything to get out.
It depends on how you want.
Sticking it to the man.
It depends on how you want to live your life. So
clearly not on a desk is what Melanie said.
Not on the ground.
Well, to each their own. If someone's happy doing that, more power to them. Full support, no judgment.
Speaking of full support, can we talk about skydiving in a bikini for just a second?
Yeah.
Okay. This is where fashion and skydiving come together.
The irony. As you guys were talking, the irony about that is, back in the day, I did a demonstration jump into Dodger Stadium wearing a bathing suit for like Camp Vegas marketing. It was a marketing stunt. That's a lot of what demonstration jumps have been, is our marketing stunts. I've done T-Mobile stunts. We've done Fantastic Four. There's a bunch of different stunts we've done. And that's why it's so exciting now to be using skydiving as a vehicle for elevated messages and inclusion.
Can I ask you a question? What's the temperature up there?
It depends on the day. If it's cold on the ground, it's even colder up there. Oof. If it's warm on the ground, it's cold up there, but it's fine.
Well, that's a great question, because in one's bathing suit, a little bit of wind shear and things going on.
Well, for demonstration jumps, you get out lower. But you don't need to go up high.
Straps like chafe or something? I mean,
Well, we were wearing we were wearing pantyhose and stuff like that. It was okay. But the irony of talking about exploiting women, that certainly was a story that in my past that showcases that. I mean, we were even on the Good Morning LA show wearing the bikinis the next morning. It was oh my God, I would literally never do that now.
Well, did you have any interest in Olympic, what's it called? Handball?
Yeah, no, seriously. It's so relevant for the conversation right now.
Cody says Brogan should do that stunt for the backpack show. I agree. Let's get him a bikini.
How do you know I'm not wearing one now?
Leslie says, I don't believe 14,000 feet in Maine is ever bathing suit weather.
I don't think Maine is ever bathing suit weather, but
it's like a fur bathing suit, like the kind Santa would wear.
Santa's bathing suit.
Like that.
That sounds like a band. All right. Well, we have come to that part of the show where we have to do a couple things. So we have to do this.
Oh, and here's our person of the day. Kaboom!
I could say that no one was absolutely more interested in having skydiving conversations than Leslie, who's heading towards her fourth. So we're going to give her the person of the day. Leekei, I can't get over all the stuff that you shared. There was just so much, and I feel like I need a few more episodes, but we'll get there. But the both of you are just jam packed with stuff. So here's what we got to do. We got to leave. So we're gonna do this. I'm gonna ask you a question, and it cannot be a parachute. What goes in your backpack? Now, this could be something physical. It could be something metaphorical. Kerry, what's an example of something physical that we could stick in the backpack?
Extra set of teeth.
An extra set of teeth might be very useful.
You just never know.
Right. And how about something metaphorical? Anything come to mind?
Kindness.
Oh, that's probably a good one. Kindness. Leekei Tang, what do you think we need to add to the backpack for success for the next couple of years in your mindset?
And I will be very greedy. I want to have 3 things in my backpack. And so the first one is audacity. Audacity. The second thing is benevolence. And the third thing is grit.
Grit, yes. Oh my gosh. That's a trio.
Yeah.
Audacity, benevolence, and grit.
Those are mighty big words.
That's
each of which has many implications.
Yes. Not tiny. Melanie Curtis, what goes in the backpack for you?
Yeah. Oh gosh. Well, we've talked a lot about being brave and all of that. I think what I would put in the backpack, because people have asked me the question, what would you tell your 10-year-old self or something like that? And my answer is always, I would tell her it's going to be okay. So I would put encouragement, because it's very difficult to be brave if we don't feel safe and supported and encouraged by the people that we love in our lives. So I would say encouragement and support.
I like it. Well, not my grandmother, but my grandfather has 2 up in the air stories I could share. One is that he flew in a biplane, and I thought for sure on that day, this old timey World War I biplane, I thought for sure he was going to go down. And the second was he was in a hot air balloon, and I got to be ground crew. And the really exciting part about that, the one crazy part of the hot air balloon is, you can't exactly control where they go. So there was a little challenge. And then